Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nishelle. If you're new here, I make content on traveling, mostly within Europe, and my most recent travel has been to the Balkan regions of Bosnia, Serbia, North Macedonia, and Bulgaria. I cannot recommend these regions enough. They are so gorgeous and so underrated. They are just impeccable. The nature, the monasteries, the culture is just gorgeous here. I have to say, going there, I was quite nervous in the beginning because I did not know what to expect. I didn't know if there were many tourists or, just how I'm gonna get by with the language, the currency, and it would be a bit of struggle because I don't think it's as easy and convenient as West Europe. Although it's cheaper, it can be, of course, a bit difficult to see if things go on time, or just how to get by can be a bit harder and need more planning. It's difficult to do a very spontaneous trip here. This is why I suggest really planning a trip here with the number of days you want to be, and booking also the buses in advance in case they fill out. And I also booked my hostels in advance. Not everyone did this, so it depends on number of hostels you have. If you have more leeway, more holidays, you can definitely take it a bit more spontaneous. But because I had a fixed number of days, I could only be in the region, I really planned it down to every day where I was gonna be. To also make it very, very efficient, I planned my buses in the nighttime. So I had like 8-hour bus trips from some countries, and I did them at night. In this way, I wouldn't lose the day, and I could also sleep fine in the bus. It was not so bad for me. In general, I expect to sleep only about 60% of my best sleep on holidays. It's never going to be as comfortable as my bed if I'm staying at hostels or things like this. So I think it was pretty decent on the bus. It was just as a hostel would be, I guess. It was pretty comfy, and I fully recommend night buses. They're cheap, they're efficient, and it's really okay. The only difficult part is like passport control maybe, because this is when you're disturbed in your sleep, but it's not that bad. It's really okay. And I just want to maybe start with the itinerary of my trip, and then maybe go on into some of the challenges and tips I would give for traveling the Balkan regions. So my itinerary was pretty intense. I started in Bosnia, so I spent like one day in Sarajevo, which I think is more than enough because there isn't too much to do. You can try the food, the coffee, go for a free walking tour, and I think, yeah, that was basically what I did there in one day. And the second day I went to Mostar, which is such a gorgeous place. You cannot miss this. Going to Bosnia means you have to go to Mostar. It's so gorgeous here. It's just so scenic, such a beautiful town, so much to do. And we spent the whole day. I mean, luckily I went with a friend here who I met in the hostel. So we just spent the whole day like trying out new Bosnian things like rakia and having some Turkish tea, trying out the ice cream flavors. So there was so much to do in this place. I fully recommend going to Mostar for a day trip. And the trains leave at the perfect time. So about like 7 a.m. in the morning up till 5 p.m. So this is like a great 8 hours to spend in this place. And then I spent the night on a bus to Serbia, to Belgrade. And this was pretty okay. I reached at 7 a.m. in the morning, and I spent 2 whole days in Serbia. I don't think 2 days are really important in Belgrade. Personally, there wasn't that much to do. I just did a walking tour, and I mostly tried some restaurants, and yeah, that's about it, I think so. I mean, I did not find a lot to do here. It's just a normal big city, and city life, and just like food and drinks. I think I also did not meet many people. That's why I think I had lots of free time and didn't feel like there was too much to do. But I think when you meet people, of course, there's a lot more time gone, and just like you're doing other things. So it was pretty nice place. Yeah, nothing too spectacular for me personally. I then went to North Macedonia on another night bus, and here really it was so unexpected. I really did not know what to expect here. I thought I wouldn't meet any tourists. I thought I would be alone, and I was also a bit worried about no one really goes here, and maybe it's not very popular, and why am I going here? But I am so glad I did it. It was such a fun place, so much of history I did not know about, and I just enjoyed the old bazaar area so much. They had wonderful food. I really love the Turkish desserts here, and just talking to people, talking to the locals, they're so friendly. I think it's because they also don't have many tourists, so when they meet a tourist, they're so happy to know where you come from and what you're doing here. And I just love the area here. It's so comfortable, even though it's small. It's just really a cute place. And I also met a really nice girl at my hostel here, and we went out for dinner together. So it was definitely for me a very comfortable trip, and the hostel was also so friendly. I just think Macedonia is not to be missed. It's such a fun place and so underrated. At least one day is great, but if I had another day, I would also go to Ohrid. I heard it's beautiful there too, and they have a nice artificial canyon nearby that is quite nice for boats and kayaks and things like that. So I think there's a lot to discover there that I did not see myself, because I only went for one day, since I did not expect I would like it this much, but I fully recommend it. And then I spent the next day going to Bulgaria. This is the country I spent the most number of days in. I spent 4 days here in total. So I spent the first day in Sofia, which was a great city. I can recommend the food here. It was so nice and also relatively cheap. So I would say that, I mean, like, I spent the same amount I would spend in Austria, I guess, but the quality was far superior for what you would get for that amount, basically. I went to this amazing cafe called Social Cafe, where they have the most amazing desserts, and they were only €5, but they deserved to be a lot more because they were so perfectly made. And we went to this amazing bar called Ozone Bar, where they also serve sushi, and they have a view of the whole city. It's gorgeous. And the sushi here cost like €7. And I was so amazed, because in Vienna, a €7 sushi would be a very scary place to go to. I mean, it would be very street sushi and not something that is very like high quality. But here we were at an amazing skyscraper having sushi for so cheap and such nice service. I really loved it. And the next day I spent at Vaila Monastery. Again, this place, literally, photos do it zero justice, because I think in Balkans in general, whatever you see in the photos, it's 10 times better than that. It's really beautiful. The monastery is unreal. The art, the architecture, the feeling of being there is so fun, and it's really a must-see when you go to Bulgaria. I think there's no Bulgaria trip complete without seeing the Vaila Monastery. And then the last 2 days I spent at Burgas. I spent it here because also my plane goes from here. It was a cheaper flight, as well as I got to see the Black Sea, which I think I would not have another chance to see. So I was really happy to be here. It's such a small, cute area, and I wasn't expecting to make any friends here, because I'm sure there aren't many tourists, especially in the month of April when it's not like swimming season really. But I also met a really fun girl here, and she had the cutest dog in the entire world, and they were like running across the beach. They looked so cute together, and I just loved them both, and meeting them was the highlights of my trip in Burgas. There wasn't much to do here, but I just enjoyed this time in the end of my trip relaxing, because I had a super intense itinerary, as you can see, and by the end I was very tired. So it was very nice to have like a relaxing day. I slept for like 10 hours in my hotel room, and I also had spent the next day just eating around. Like, I went for one place for breakfast, one for lunch, one for dessert, and basically I just was having a super chill eating, reading, walking day. So I loved it totally. Now that my itinerary is done, I want to give some information about the places that were a bit challenging for me. So the hardest thing I would say was the currency was pretty difficult, because you have to keep changing on all the 4 countries. They're all completely different. They accept euros, but I think it of course cost you a lot more, and they really overcharge you if you pay in euros. And yeah, it's not really worth it, so I would change my money. But what I highly recommend is don't spend the entire currency in that place before you leave, because you never know what kind of last minute cost come up at the train station or bus station. Because I had this problem in Serbia and in Macedonia, where even though you have a bus ticket to go, you need a ticket for the station to be there at the gate. I don't really understand it, but you have to pay some amount, normally about like 2 or 3 euros, but they don't accept euros, they don't accept cards, so you have to pay it in their currency. And when you're late for your bus and you have to pay this, and you have to stand in line, and it's all so hectic. And So I highly recommend you have the cash of the country, and you come really at least half an hour, 20 minutes early, so that you don't have this problem, because there were so many people, travelers, who had this exact issue, and they were like asking, please come ahead of you, we're getting late for our bus. So don't make this issue. It's really, really difficult and frustrating to be in that situation. What I did was, whatever extra cash I had, I went to the next country and changed it. Of course, you lose some amount of money, but it's worth not having this headache at all. Next thing I think was important was also the language. I think most people spoke English, so it was pretty okay, especially if you're in touristic areas. I didn't have much of a problem with the English, to be honest. Like, it was mostly fine, or else if you're buying something, you just give them the money and then it's going okay. I don't find it a big issue at all. I made my notes, so I have to see what else I have referenced here. The next thing is also the people. So the people I met in these places were interesting. I really felt like I haven't met so many locals. Like, the locals I met were in walking tours, but mostly the people who I became friends with were in the hostels, were internationals, because they mostly spoke the language and were doing similar things as I was. The only place I met a local was in Bulgaria at the Black Sea. That was very lucky. I think the locals are very approachable here, especially in Bulgaria. I felt this was very true because they spoke very good English and they were very friendly as well. So I think Bulgaria was a place where it's very easy to talk to the locals. They're super, super helpful and super fun as well. The food, the Balkan food is interesting. I mean, I like it very much. I would say that after some time, the cevapcici and the what else is famous there? Forgot what else I ate there, but I think I was really not liking the oiliness of the food. It was very heavy, very oily, so it gets a bit intense after the first or second time. But I did like the vegetarian food a lot more here. I'm a big meat lover, but vegetarian food is really way better here. I really liked, they had like brinjal roasted, they had a lot of like peppers, they had very nice chicken shawarma. This was my favorite food actually in the whole region. I had it twice, I think, in Bulgaria and in Serbia. It was so delicious. Like, this is my favorite food, and it also sizzles when it comes to your table. It's the best. I love it. And maybe the last thing I want to talk about is also the hostels. So the hostel life was very fun in the Balkans because I met most of them in also different places. So I met some of the friends in one Balkan country and then a few days later in the next one. So people are just moving around very freely around these areas. So I think it's super easy to like mingle with them, to feel like super connected to all the travelers because everyone is on the same journey as you are. I think the hostels are super great. All of them were very family feeling type. They weren't super rigid or strict with the rules, but they were very family friendly type. They were not very Instagram or beautiful places, but just very local. You feel like you're cared for. They really help you. They want you to have a comfortable time, and also quite cheap. It was about like 12 to 15 euros, all of them. So it was very, very comfortable to move in hostels here. I found them very clean. I had no issue actually with any hostel. I mean, I think the one in Bosnia, in Sarajevo, was the dirtiest one from what I have remembered. Like, the toilets were not so good. I didn't even shower in that place because I couldn't bring myself to do it there. So it was okay to sleep, but I did not like it so much. But everywhere else, I love the hostels. They're listed over here. They were excellent. I liked the one especially in Macedonia. This was the most family friendly type, and they had the nicest bathroom where I had a very nice shower after my long trip in the bus. So I definitely think there can be very, very nice hostels in the Balkans as well, especially because of the people and how friendly and warm they are. I think that's basically all I want to talk about. I'm trying to think of any specific memories that I want to share, but right now my mind is blank. But I just want to say that you have to see the Balkans. It's such a special experience to be there. It's so unique, and there is nothing like it out there. I think the best way is to do it with many countries at the same time, because most of the travelers who I met there were doing the same thing, and that's a good way to spend your time in the Balkans. If I could, I would also do like 8 countries together as well if I had longer time, and that's a nice way to do it, especially with the interrailing, but it's definitely a worth it place to see. So much to do there, and it's just gorgeous. I am speechless after this trip. I think as a solo female traveler, it's so safe to be here. Like, there was never a time I felt uncomfortable in any of these 4 countries. I mean, especially in the bigger ones, like in Belgrade, it's impossible. In Sofia, I think there's never places that you will feel uncomfortable because you're mostly in touristic areas, or you're going to just, if you go to nice diners and restaurants, I think there's never going to be anything weird in these places. I think I was nervous in Macedonia a bit just because it's really small and very few people, and I felt like if I screamed or if I was in some places, people wouldn't hear me, so that was a bit like nervous. But I think it's just because there are much less people there. I'm used to very populated cities and stuff like that, so it was way emptier. But I had no issues there, and I was also in the nighttime. I rarely go out alone. Like, I always go for dinners and nighttime with people who I meet in the hostels or walking tours, so it's pretty chill that way. But of course it depends. I never had any bad experiences, so I really had such a great time in the Balkans. It was super safe as a female traveler. It was so comfortable, and people are just lovely. Like, yeah, it is such an amazing trip. I really think the Balkans are so underrated. It is a must-see. Like, I know it's not like as touristy as like the western parts where everyone is going to, but I think after that is done, the Balkans are a must visit. Such a cool place, and literally anything you want to do, you can do there. You can have an adventurous time, you can have a wild nightlife, but you can also have a most relaxing holiday by the beach. Like, just everything you want is in this area, so please see it, and please like and subscribe to this video. And I hope you like this podcast style of videos. Let me know in the comments, and I will make more as I go to every country, because I think this gives a more detailed outline of what's happening rather than just the photos and the videos, because I don't like to put so much of advice or tips on my videos. I want to focus more on the aesthetic and the beautiful things that I do there. But in the podcast, I really love to talk about what experiences I had and what I wish I knew before going there and things of this sort. So I hope you like it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.